Are you all ready for a weird friggin' book? This is Swamp Thing from DC Vertigo. This is issue 138. And I love this kind of fairy tale-esque looking cover. Because, I mean, if you look at the soft pencil and coloring work here, it looks like something you would see like in a kid's fairy tale book. But with the juxtaposition of this big Swamp Thing monster right in the middle. Just a nice little piece all around. And this is called And in the End. Writer, Nancy A. Collins. Penciler, Scott Eaton. Inks, Kim D. Mulder. Colorist is Tatiana Wood, which, by the way, I saw a social media post that she just recently passed away, so rest in peace. We're going to miss your talent. Letterer, Tim Harkins. And, of course, Swamp Thing was created by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson, and then dedicated to all those who ever cared. Now, remember, Abby has always been Swamp Thing's love interest, I think, since when Alan Moore took over. I'm not so sure during the Len Wein era, but she was very prominent during Alan Moore's run. He goes, Abby, don't look at me, please. And then you see how horrific her face looks. And then there's just this random naked dude. So I always say that, when you dive into a book, it's going to be your first comic. It does kind of, and this I do appreciate that, even though it's kind of random, it does kind of bring you up to speed on what happened. This is one of Swamp Thing's longtime bad guys that can possess people's bodies. But when you just first open it, you're like, what in the hell, the madness? You know what they say. All in beauty may only be skin deep, but ugly goes clean to the bone. Bastard. You evil, stinking bastard. Now, one thing I will say is I'm not too hip on the way Swamp Thing looks here, because when we always think of, our green Swampy. And here, he just looks like a really mutated either Doomsday or like a really badly proportioned hippie. That's just me. Anyway, you forget who you're dealing with. With a frail old man or a twisted freak this time, Holland. This body is young and virile and supernaturally strong. Crack! Attack, my own men. Do as like the others, but save the child for me. And then Constantine. Shit! And then I had to stop and look up some of these characters because I'm not super versed in Swamp Thing lore. Apparently, she is a protector of the green. I don't know her full history. And then, of course, Abby. And then apparently him and Abby got married and had a daughter. That completely threw me. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And I love how John just grabs this beast's nose. Clear off, arsehole, or I'll rip that whatever passes for your face and shove it down your bleeding gullet. And now, one thing I do want to talk about real quick before we get into this. Going back and reading the old school Vertigo imprint, yes, it was crass, don't get me wrong. I mean, there was nudity, there was crassness, but it served the story. It didn't just feel like being edgy for the sake of being edgy. And this is kind of what I was hoping for when DC back in the day announced the Black Label imprint. It's supposed to be like high quality stories. And it started out that way. There were some good ones in the beginning, but then it just kind of felt like it was sort of like the Studio A24, where people were trying to do like overly artsy art house comics. I'm like, the art's okay, but the stories suck. Like in a sense, you can kind of think of DC Vertigo too as kind of like a proving ground, because people would start here and then move up. But here, these stories, they're still timeless. As where I look back at a lot of the Black Label ones, and I'm like, nah, this is going to go on the dollar rack pretty soon. But that's just me. What do you guys think? And so right off the bat, going back to the story now, just cacophony, gore fest. And then this little girl, her face kind of starts to morph, and she goes, bad monster, go away. And she kind of reminds me of like a telekinetic Newt from Alien. This guy, I have no idea who he is, other than he apparently is taking care of Abby. Don't look, it's horrible. Oh God, Abby, it doesn't matter. As long as you're alive, nothing else matters. You really mean that, don't you? Of course I do. This is hardly the time for a place for a polite lie. And at first I thought this was Jason Blood, but apparently this guy has feelings for Abby. So I'm not too sure what's going on here. So if you guys can kind of fill me in down in the comments, I'd appreciate it. But then he gets attacked. She goes, Dawn, put him down, you piece of shit. It has some great action right there. And then we get a cutaway to a subplot, which a lot of writers nowadays don't know how to do. I cannot remember what this chick's name is off the top of my head, but she goes, "Daddy, it's not fair. I worked so hard, so very, very hard. I made myself into the son you always wanted. Handled everything the way I knew you would done it. So you'd be proud of me when you come back. Only to be tricked by an imposter. But I'll show them. I'll show them all." And so she essentially just wants to destroy her dad's company. But yeah, she's a bad dude from what I understand. I cannot remember her name. It's not Abby. It's something or other. But she's one kind of like those corporate baddies, for a lack of a better term here. And then the artwork. Just love the grittiness here, especially when it says, "I'm going to send you back to hell, even if I have to drag you there myself." We'll see about that. What feels like something is inside me, swarming and buzzing, feeding on me like insects. Now you're thinking, is this the end of Swamp Thing? Tune in next bat time, same bat channel. But then a lot happens quickly. We get a really rough alien kind of type resurrection. He's like, "I'll have your marbles, you little, what are you doing?" And then his death is just absolutely horrific. And then we get a subplot with John where this is pleasure and pain, I think are the names. Because we were correct. We knew if we were patient and waited long enough, the escaped demon known as Arcane would be forced to use its powers, thereby making it visible to us. We thank you, my friend, for enabling us to locate our query. I helped too, you know. Oh yes, the trickster mage. We have a message from you from the fallen. He says he will see you soon in hell. If not his, then one of your own making. Oh yeah. Well, you can tell the old boy he can kiss my rosy red arse. Now, after all this action, and we're thinking we're probably going to get a moment to, everyone's reunited. Mommy? Wake up, Mommy. Tiffy? Hi, Mommy. Oh, dear God, Tiffy. This is your doing, I can tell. What have you done to my baby? Abby, try to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Not after what that witch has done. Because her face starts to look more like the Swamp Thing Alec. She starts to get that facial look. She's taken away my daughter and replaced her with this thing. That's not Tiffy. It's not my little girl. It's some kind of changeling. Abby, that's enough. You're frightening your child. She's as much my child as you're my husband. Beg pardon? Look, I know it's none of my business, and you can tell me to piss off if you like. But I wouldn't push things with the missus right now if I was you. So Abby doesn't even recognize her own child. And she leaves to go with Dawn. And then we get another subplot with this chick. What the hell is her name? She's saved by a character named Polygon. Yeah, I can't remember her name. Ms. Sunderland. We'll go with that. Connie Sunderland. I knew if I looked at the dialogue long enough, I'd find it. But that just builds up for future issues. Because now, Abby's on the mend. And he goes, "Daddy, swing me." I'll be there in a moment. And I know that very well. Tiffy seems to be taking everything that's happened in stride. At least on the surface. She's a sapling. Her extreme youth and suppleness allows her to weather conditions that would snap a larger, older tree in the kindling. She is not human. I thought that would be obvious by now. Daddy, swing me now! Having my own young kid, I get that. They're having a heavy conversation. He's saying to stay with me. And she says, no. I either have to be part of the Council of the Grain, or I have to give it up to be with you. She goes, on that same token, she says, no matter how hard I try, humans continue to intrude their influence, corrupting not only Tiffy, but myself as well. If I remain here any longer, I run the risk of being permanently tainted. If I wish to resume my place amongst the Parliament, I cannot allow myself the folly of pretending to be human. But a choice is made. So Alec has lost his wife and his daughter. And that's how this issue ends. And it basically just flat out says, the end. And it is hard to read because he's lost everything that he has built up since he's come back from the dead. And his heart is broken as he sees the remains of his little girl. And this is apparently how this run ends because this was Nancy A. Collins. This was her last, what's the word I'm looking for? This was her last issue. After that, I think it's Mark Millar that picks up after this. And I don't know. She had a knack for writing Swamp Thing. And she just had that craziness that you would expect from like Grant Morrison or Mark Millar. And that's what always made this book so much fun. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever you like to get your action figures and comics and pick up this series. And if you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate it. Take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little swamp bell next to subscribe, that way as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with you and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials. And if you enjoy what I do and you'd like to support the channel, I have left a PayPal link in the description. And if not, I still appreciate you checking out the video. Either way, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.